All right, I'll try again, gang. So here's a timeline of the college, just a very informal time. This is not an official timeline or anything, just in the 80s or so, this place was a tutorial model focused largely on language-based LD like dyslexia. And in the 90s, from what I understand, that place went through a really important evolutionary step to become more like a genuine college, offering associate degree programs, and in the delivery of in the structure of the learning environment was more resembled a traditional college, because as a 2-year college, most people had to move on to a traditional setting. So I believe that the philosophy was make sure even though you have a specialized learning environment here, it is traditional enough that you will succeed moving down the path to other places. Now, I arrived at 2011, and it was really a time when the college needed a quantum leap in terms of evolution. Things were challenging then. We weren't convinced that the old model as a business model was going to be successful. It was actually in tough shape, 2011, despite all the excellent work that people before me did.
Yep, we sure are.
And we quickly, right away, we developed additional associate degree programs, bachelor's degree programs, and in those first several years, a graduate online program. It's a certificate program, not a master's. Other online programs, and the aim was to transition in many ways to a more fully realized college. As we moved along from 2011, approaching 2022, we truly expanded LC Online, which is now about 10 years old, and serves hundreds of students from high school to gap year to college and to post-baccalaureate. And it serves as marketing too. It's tremendously important for the college in terms of revenue and in marketing in a way. We also launched our California Success Center in San Mateo, which is a way to have a physical location elsewhere. And we hope to start one in LA next year. And we've done the groundwork for that. Now, I have this other thing of all years campus improvements. That didn't happen in 2022. This has happened all along. And that is, we have worked really, really hard to improve the campus. We've had successful fundraising for new buildings like the STEM Center and the Facilities Center, for a turf athletics field, for student scholarships to support athletics, and the endowment. We got a T that got chopped off here. And the endowment, which is all our investments, which is about 32 million right now, mostly unrestricted. Not bad for a small young college, but we're going to get it higher. And today, what we have in 2024, as I said, we're a fully realized college. I put the term in there, we're future-proofed. Well, we're trying to be future-proofed. We have all the elements for success if we don't lose momentum, and we're not going to. So we do have a strong residential model. We have a good number of students here. Can't fit that many more actually on campus. We like where we're at in the mid to high 400s. That's good because it allows 20-25% of students to still have singles instead of cramming another 50 students in and not having singles. We have growing online programs. We have the West Coast Center, etc. So we have enough of a really nice campus that still needs work, and we'll talk about that in a minute, which is doing well. But we also have these outward-facing programs which bring in revenue and bring landmark to people who can never be at a pretty expensive rural campus program, and that's okay. For every student at Landmark, there's 100, 200, 500 more who need us, but they can't come here. All right, so I want to get rid of this now and stop sharing. I got it right here, stop sharing. Hold on one second. All right, so if I can, there we go. Let me get rid of that. Are we back to the regular view, gang? All right, so yeah, that's my take on the evolution of the college. A lot of great work, but it has had a bunch of these phases, and the most recent phase that I was fortunate enough to be here for the past 13 years was one of tremendous growth and maturation. We are a fully realized college, yet we're always a specialty college. Now that neurodiversity is a thing and broadly recognized, that further reduces any sort of hesitation students have of getting involved. most important thing to me is maintaining quality at the Putney campus and then moving out to bring Landmark to others. Now, I think what I'm going to do, Tricia, if it's okay with you, we got a couple of questions here that are germane to what I just presented that I want to talk about. But before I do that, I'm just going to pause. And I'm sure all of you know that I'm moving on after 13 years. I let the board know a while back that the time is right. The time is right. The college is doing great. I'm so proud of it. The college is in great shape. There's nothing wrong with the college. It's just this, most college university presidents, the average is 5.5 years. I've beaten that by much. I've been here for 13 years. And I think change is a healthy thing. It's the right time to move on, even though it kind of is upsetting to me to leave Landmark. I'm so attached to it. And I believe that for me and my family, another opportunity is important for us. And this other opportunity is not far away. My kids don't have to change schools. This other university really needs a turnaround, which is what I faced at Landmark 13 years ago. So I think I'm experienced in doing a turnaround effort. That is exciting to me. And it's really just the next challenge, I think, and the time is right for Landmark. So this is natural. This is healthy. It happens at every place. And fortunately, it's happening at a time of strength for the college. And the college will put in place an interim president, which is really pretty common. Presidents die, they resign, they might retire quickly, they move on, they might get forced out. And you want to have a whole year to run a search for a permanent president. When you don't have a whole year, there's an entire business around interim presidents. Now, these are former presidents, and what they do is they come into a college university for a year, maybe 2 at the most, and they keep the train running and make sure all the good stuff continues, and they have experience. And that allows you a year to find a permanent president. And I believe you're going to find a great one because the college is so attractive now. Not that it wasn't back in 2011, but it was a pretty big risk for me to take back then. Now we're in much better shape. You're going to find somebody terrific over the course of the next year when there's an interim. So I'll miss you all. Fortunately, I'm not going very far. I'm not even moving out of my house initially with my family. And I do expect to be back on campus to say hello, especially over the next year. You'll see me again possibly, and I'm more than happy to stay in touch with a number of people, whatever this college needs me to do. And so that means this is not really goodbye forever. It's really I'm transitioning, but I'm not moving far. I'm not moving at all. And I will see most of you again. And you can always reach out to me. And so that's what I'll do over the next year, especially with an interim here. It's not an unhealthy thing to do. So it's all good, even though change is difficult for everyone involved. But you're in great shape now, and I'm so proud of what we did together. Now, the question is, oh, Rachel, thank you for that nice note. There's a question, and I talked about programming. Let's do that before we talk about the master plan. What programs are there for alumni in person or online? We do have online programming, which are for high school students, transition year students, and college students. We don't yet have a graduate program. I know there's some, I'm merging another question in there. There's some talk of a master's program. If I were staying at Landmark, I would push heavily for a bachelor's to master's 5 or 6 year program. They're pretty standard in higher education, where the last year or 2, you can stay on campus or go online to earn a master's. That's not here yet, but we'll see what happens over the next year or 2. So there may be a graduate program for you all as alumni now that we have the online capabilities, so you don't have to move to Putney, Vermont, unless you want to. So that's really what we're at, where we're at now. Yeah, master plan. The master plan is improvement of the campus, okay? Over the past year, 2 years almost, we have worked with the students, faculty, and staff on what do we need here? And we have arrived at a master plan that focuses on 3 areas, really. One of them is safety and accessibility, fixing the stairs and the ramps so people with disabilities can get around better, putting in elevators where they're needed, doing things which make this campus more accessible and safer. Another one is energy efficiencies. How do we reduce our carbon footprint? How do we save money in our budget by not burning as much oil? How do we stop losing heat through all of these 60-year-old windows? So these are, those are two things. Another one is we simply are going to improve the learning environments and some of the living environments. So that's where we're at with the master plan. Small things, medium-sized things. We are also going to move forward with a pretty big thing, which is part of a major gifts campaign, which we could talk about at another time. And you can always call me in, Tricia, if you want to. If I've already moved on, I'm happy to help. We're talking about developing a space on the upper campus for students to socialize and study and hang out. Half of our students are bachelor's students, and quite honestly, they're kind of outgrowing our campus. So there's that work, and very exciting. So you'll hear more about that over this coming year. But that's what we're doing in terms of improving the campus, while still investing in the West Coast Success Center, LC Online, all of the things that bring bits and pieces of Landmark to people who cannot make it here or can't afford a full-time program, frankly. So that's where we're at. I think now, in George, my friend George, asked about the next expansion, new construction. That would be the upper campus student social programming space, which we're going to focus on over the next year or two. And you're going to hear a lot more about that. But we started that at the February board meeting. We said, we got to do it. And even though I'm leaving, we're not going to stop doing it. Nothing stops. The college continues. I will stop there. Out of the interest of time and opportunity to take any questions. Tricia, before I move on, is that what you'd like to do?
Yeah, there is one in the chat. Lindsay asked a follow-up question, like what degrees the master programs may envision.
Somebody's eager to take a Landmark College graduate program. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, again, my vote would be link it to, don't quote me on this, link it to our psychology degree and have a bachelor's to master's, BA to MA over 5 years. It's traditional. Maybe you could link it to a life science degree. I'm not sure. I just know that and we have baccalaureate graduates. David, did you get your bachelor's from us recently? David Body, I see you there. Associate or bachelor's?
I feel like it was my 4 years, so
Yeah, okay.
even though I took a gap year, it was hard to really determine.
I hear you. All right, thanks, David. We have a lot of baccalaureate graduates they're like, oh my God, I made it through college, now what? And they sort of wish they could continue at Landmark because it's the right environment. So I think there's a market. I don't know if there's another like special ed master's need out in the world, but I do know that our students would love to get a master's degree in some discipline, which gives them a leg up on a career. And now that we have a fully operational 10-year-old LC Online platform, we could deliver that online. I would like to see it hybrid, like some things on campus during the summer, maybe the winter, and the rest online. This is going to be up to people that come after me. So I can't tell you with any precision what it might be.
Theo had her hand raised. So Theo, if you want to ask your question out loud, you're more than.
Hi, Dr. Eden.
Hi.
I was thinking it'd be fun. Well, I'd be interested if there was a master's in special education. Yeah,
because my guess would be, Theo, is it would be a master's in neurodiversity. You know what I mean? Not just standard. It would be something unique and frankly useful. So there could be, but it would have to be not just a run-of-the-mill one. Of course, it has more credibility coming from us, but I'm not sure with the graduate programs. I'm really happy to hear the interest, but then again, this is an alumni town hall. Interest in graduate programs.
Yeah.
Social work. Lindsay just writes social work. I don't know. Maybe we'd have to ask the alumni. We'd have to ask the emerging alumni, our current baccalaureate students, and our alumni like you. What are you not getting out there? When you go online and you shop around for, master's or doctoral programs, what are you not seeing that you really want? Or what are you seeing but you don't dare take it because they won't have the courses engineered for your LD?
Yeah.
We need to find out from what I call the customer, which is our own students or our alumni. What do you need? What do you want? And then we have to see. Now, if you come back and you say, we would like a master's in biochemistry and X-ray crystallography, we would say no, because we don't have the people to teach it. But if you come back and you say, we would like a master's degree in neurodiversity / education, we would say, huh, I think we could do that. You keep pushing the people that are in leadership positions here through Tricia as we move forward and tell them what you want. And then the college will make decisions on how it's going to grow. We cannot stop growing. We're still not big enough programmatically. We lose students all the time because we don't have engineering or pre-engineering and all these other programs. We have to continue to grow programmatically.
And continuing with that, the other question was based on bachelor's online.
Oh yeah,
we have associates
online. Yeah, thank you, Tricia. We have a couple of associate degree programs online. As a matter of fact, at the May graduation ceremony, 2 students were there in person, and they were receiving their associate degree, which they earned entirely online. And yet they came physically to campus to get their diploma. Isn't that cool? So I do believe that there's going to be a real need for a Landmark College baccalaureate program. Don't ask me which one it's going to be. But we've always known that there are thousands of students out there who need Landmark, but they cannot or will not go across country to rural Vermont. They have to stay where they are. And LC Online, it was one of the first things I pitched when I came in 13 years ago. I was pitching it because I knew our own students needed to take our courses on the summer and when they were studying away. And we needed to start offering online courses because every college has online programs. Of course, it was a big shift away from the real personalized, direct support approach, but we took the leap because we had to. One of the smartest things we've ever done. That plus being open about autism early on in 2012 or so. Coming out of the closet and being honest about autism on campus, not pretending that it wasn't here. That was one of my biggest, I'm perhaps most proud of that. I remember telling people, what are we doing? Knock it off.
That was going to be my question to you, is in your time here, what are you most proud of?
I'm really proud of the fact that we were still in 2011, a year after I got here, for not being completely above board when it came to students with autism. And nobody was, and I said, why? An autistic student, I think does not want to go to an autism college. They just want to go to the right college for them. So we're not becoming an autism college. We're just a neurodiversity-based college. And it took a couple of years, and there was some confusion because at that same time we became a baccalaureate college too, and online, and people were like, what is this place? It's changed. That took about 3 or 4 years for our identity to settle back down and say, we haven't changed, we've just evolved. And we're honest that a lot of our students from the very beginning, including 1985, are on the spectrum. And this model simply supports them the best. I'm really proud of that, Tricia. And I'm also proud of the fact that we've raised a lot of money and we've made it, and we didn't panic during the tough times. We invested in ourselves. There are a lot of things I'm proud of. Mostly proud of the alumni and people here who worked really hard. College is not easy. It's not easy at all, especially if you're not great at school. You're smart, but you got an LD. Really proud of the people here. But the autism thing ranks way up there, Tricia, because people told me not to do it, and I said, I don't care. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to be honest about the students we serve. Back then I had no idea there would be a neurodiversity, revolution, 8 years later.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I just thought it was ethically inappropriate to hide that was one important student profile we had. Other questions, gang, before I have to move on to another.
Jenny, you just joined us. A lot of people are agreeing with you in terms of the degrees, neurodiversity and media studies. And we have David who has his hand up, and we'll allow that question.
David.
So I may have heard this when I was at my graduation in May, but do you know where you're going to be working next time? Where you go?
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, well, I had to be cryptic about it, David, because it wasn't publicly known. The other university had to allow their president to announce her retirement, and for whatever reason, they didn't want me to mention the name of the place until they took a few steps. It's the name of the place is Franklin Pierce University. It's in Rindge, New Hampshire. It's about 35 minutes from my house in Walpole, New Hampshire. I live 25 minutes from Putney. I always have. So this is a place, it's, you know, a little over 1,000 students, David. It's got students who are neurodiverse, but it's more of a traditional college, university. It's got Division II athletics, but it also, David, has some enrollment challenges like a lot of places do. So I need to go in there and stabilize it and see what its strengths are. So it's Franklin Pierce University.
Okay.
And yeah, I've known about it for a while, and I need to go in there and I need to go in there and identify the strengths and then do a whole rebranding effort so people know what it is, because there's so many places like Franklin Pierce. They're too much like Franklin Pierce. This is opposite of Landmark. We're very distinctive. But that's where I'm going, David, not far away at all.
And the next two questions pertain to kind of the search process next. And I know you have to leave. We have Carol online too, who can support some of these questions if I can't. But
Sure.
What is up to you?
Yeah, I'll speak to it. And Brett's online too. He's a trustee. Yeah. And the search process for an interim is typically in higher ed, folks. That's usually a fast sort of internal thing. This is not a permanent president. There will be others involved to pick. You know, they'll get a couple of candidates, and it's usually a faster thing because it's the important thing for your alumni is, you know, probably starting in the fall, there'll be an advertisement, there'll be a search for a permanent president, and through the fall, winter, and early spring, there will no doubt be opportunities when the college gets finalists to maybe have an open online session with the finalists, things of that nature. But that's entirely how the college wants to run it. They'll probably run an open search where, you know, it's not secretive or anything, but that's up to them. It's next year the important thing, because that's your permanent one. The interim president just keeps the train running. She or he just keep the train running. Don't worry about that. When it comes time next year for the search, ask Tricia if there can be some alumni representation. There should be on the search for the permanent president.
Yeah. Carol and I have already talked about it and what that may look like. We definitely have our alumni trustees and our leadership board that will be involved. And there was a question about focused on neurodiversity. And I know with the trustees work and how they'll be reviewing resumes, you know, it's a business model first, and then neurodiversity would be, you know, a second.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you need, hey, I'm not a neurodiversity expert. I thought, you know, 13 years ago, I said, why are you asking me? I'm not an LD expert. And the search people said, we don't need an LD expert. You know enough about neurobiology, and you know enough about teaching and learning. We need someone who can help this college, you know, survive and grow. And that was my strength. So there are lots of things you'll need in a permanent president. Don't get wound up about it. Unfortunately, it's a lot like dating. You know, you don't really know the person until, you know, after a couple of dates, and you think they're going to be great at something and they're not, or you think they're going to be terrible about something and then you're totally wrong. So it's hard. The important thing is to stay positive, because I think the most important thing is make sure you pick somebody who's entrepreneurial, somebody that does not have a scarcity mindset, somebody who has a growth mindset, because the college can and will be so much bigger. Even if Landmark and Putney stays tight with quality, Landmark College should be a global enterprise. I gotta run, folks.
I just want to take a moment as I just want to thank you, Dr. Eden, over the years for your ability to see the vision for the Alumni Association, the growth of our young alumni, the needs. I have some alumni leaders here that would speak to the same about your visibility and your passion to have an open door policy, even for our alumni. So,
well, Tricia, thank you for all your hard work. Listen, there's nothing more important than alumni. Okay, I can jump around all I want and sell the place for open house. It's when the alumni get involved and they say, this place changed my life. That's when the people say, all right, I want in. All right, gang, listen, I'm not going anywhere. And I'll have my Landmark email probably for a year, like most employees do. Okay, so I'm reachable. And if you can't reach me, just go through Tricia and she'll put you in touch with me. So stay positive. I will be back on campus. All is good here. It's all healthy change. And stay positive, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you. So I just have a few updates on behalf of the alumni relations next, taking about, hopefully wrapping things up here for you guys, making sure people can get back to their lunch. I just want to recognize some of our alumni advisory board members that are here, and we have an alumni trustee who all started with volunteering for the college and alumni hat. And so with that, I wanted to announce some of the bigger things we have. There's some projects that we'll be seeking alumni for. One is hopefully when we know a little bit more about the presidential search, how alumni will be involved in that. Our marketing department is doing an unofficial social media campaign using the hashtag #MyLDJourney. And I can speak to anybody more details offline, but this is a social media moment asking alumni and other students to share their LD journey to kind of get neurodiversity out there on social media. So those are more Instagram and TikTok stories. I have kind of like a rubric for people if anybody's interested in doing that project as well. Our alumni advisory board will be doing that first. So you'll see the hashtag out there over the summer from some of our alumni leaders. It's not necessarily tied to Landmark, but it's a great opportunity for our alumni community, the neurodiverse community, to kind of hear some of our alumni stories. As always, I want to put in a plug for homecoming. That will be the weekend. That's a great opportunity. We always invite all alumni back for that. Specifically, this year will be welcome back the reunion years ending in 4 and 9. So those are the ones that will be having 5, 10, 20, 30-year reunions. So we'll be having, usually we have a little bit of a special event for those reunion years, and then everything else is open to all alumni. So that event is September 21st and 22nd. My mailing and registration will go out early July for that. And then, as always, we're seeking alumni volunteers. We have a few different levels for alumni to volunteer. We have the Alumni Advisory Board that seeks about 1 to 2 new members every year. And that has a commitment of participating at least in a few meetings throughout the year, committee work. We try to have all class representation in that. So everything from our oldest alumni to our youngest alumni. We even have some students on that. And that's our more formal alumni volunteer opportunity. And then we have our informal alumni opportunities to volunteer. That's anything from, providing quotes or stories for our magazines to also doing smaller committee work. We'll be starting a reunion committee for the 40th anniversary for the college. So 2025 is our 40th anniversary. Yeah, Brett. Thank you, Brett is hyping me up. So we'll be definitely working with our alumni to start a committee for that, especially finding some of our lost alumni, those that we've lost contact with, bringing them back, letting them know about the big events that are happening. And then the other work is that social media event that I had mentioned. We are working pretty hard to make sure we represent our alumni in all things that we do. I think our magazine has really come forward with that, sharing the different stories, the backgrounds that you guys all serve, and what you guys are doing in the communities at large at home. So I'm very proud of you. But I open this for any questions, anything. I really would like to hear any ideas you guys have for programming. As always, I travel across the nation, staying to some of our hubs. And lastly, one of the biggest projects that we're undergoing in our alumni association with the AAB is looking at possibly doing chapters, what that would look like in a Boston chapter, a LA chapter, or a New York chapter in our city hubs, having a larger network for our alumni to kind of get to know the people in their area. And so we'll be working on that over this summer, coming up with a proposal, starting with a beta test, possibly with 3 city hubs, and how that works for our volunteers. That would be fully a volunteer opportunity for our alumni association. And then moving forward from that, it's pretty common for larger universities to have chapters, and now we're there. We're getting there. So our alumni stretch the globe. It's pretty exciting. I always hear from people about, I know somebody that knows somebody. So it's pretty exciting. And as Dr. Eden said, our alumni are the best marketing individuals for us. Your story, your ability to say what Landmark was able to do for you is the most important story for us to tell. So, all right. So, does anybody have any questions? We can keep it pretty.
Can you hear me, Trish?
Yeah, is it David?
Dean.
Dean, okay. Yep, go ahead, Dean.
You know, I finally figured out how to unmute it. He was talking about programs. I was wondering, you know, Landmark has a science department, don't they?
Yes, we certainly do. We have some new to you science building.
If they're going to be developing master's degree programs, what about a master's degree as a physician's assistant? Now, there's an area that's growing, and you see a lot of programs like that. You usually start out in 4 years with, they want you to have experience with humanities and stuff like that. That would be a good direction for them to go because there's a big demand for them. And now it used to be you could get by with an associate's or a bachelor's degree. Now you have to have the master's degree in physician's assistant, and maybe that would be a good direction for Landmark to go. You know, I wanted to mention it to Dr. Eden, but you know, I often thought about that. You know, when I came up there for one of the open houses, and I thought it would be pretty cool if Landmark had a physician's assistant program. It's a big area that's growing where people could get jobs, and people with learning disabilities. You know, there's a lot of people out there with learning disabilities, and a PA with learning disability can relate to people in ways others can't. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know, and you know, that talks about the idea of additional certificate opportunities. Brett may be able to speak about this, and you know what that means. A lot of that may be partnering with other local colleges that already offer that, or you know the hard part is a lot of our students come from multiple states, and so is the certificate only good for Vermont? Where are they going to land here? And so working out all those pieces. It's definitely been talked about for sure. It's definitely because a lot of our students are really interested in animals. So is the animal side of things. So there's a lot of opportunity there now that the other things have been fully grounded. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I've heard there's a shortage of veterinarians too. You know.
Yep. Healthcare, veterinarians, and even cybersecurity is a huge field. So yeah. David, go ahead. You have your hand up for a bit.
So I have two things to say, and one is a question. My first thing is, what is the official date for Alumni Weekend? Is that the date that you said with the 21st,
yes.
22nd?
Yeah, September 21st and 22nd. So that's the Saturday and Sunday. I'll be advertising that a little bit more here in the next few weeks.
Okay. And my next thing is, I have a friend who I talked to from my high school, and he seems interested in this college, but he's not too sure. He may want to at least get a flyer or something that can get him to see some, I guess, answer some questions before he comes to tour the college itself.
Yeah, if you just confirm in an email with me your address, I can get like an admissions packet out to you very easily. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or him, whichever address you want it sent to. But yeah, like I said, thank you for helping us recruit. Like your testimonies are the most powerful piece to our marketing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm missing somebody else's hand that's raised. Sophia, go ahead.
Yes, the programming like for the ones who are alumni, I was thinking that maybe I'm thinking maybe there ought to be some sort of interest with studying, you know, like world language for when a study abroad opportunity comes up, like for a future for alumni.
Yeah,
if
our alumni
they wanted to in the future, but I don't know if it's possible.
I know our alumni are welcomed. If there's empty seats on a study abroad, they allow alumni to participate in our study abroad, but the language piece is important. I know we do have we have some language options here on campus, but they're pretty limited. But the idea is to grow that as well. I know that's a big piece that the college has talked about over the last 2 years, is growing that program, because a lot of the individuals that taught a lot of the second language opportunities here retired, and so growing that and building that is something I know that they want to do. And then the idea for there to be smaller opportunities for alumni to engage differently. So I have talked to our social pragmatics office to maybe launch maybe a once every 2 months social pragmatics group meeting because I feel like a lot of our soon to be graduates or recent graduates, that whole socialization back home, living with parents, making new friends now that you've been away from college for 4 years, all those steps that may be harder to do on your own. And so working to kind of grow our alumni programming, thinking outside the hat about the things that our students really enjoyed while they were here and how we can continue that as their alumni. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah. Did I miss any questions in chat?
I think another thing I wanted to mention is like like most of the programs here I take it they are pretty progressive in a way, but I'm just curious as to which ones are progressing the most.
Oh yeah, I think Dr. Dean was pretty clear that the psychology degree has really grown. We have a lot of people graduating within the baccalaureate because their interests lie within neurodiversity, right? So psychology makes a lot of sense. That's education or going on to be a therapist or going on for a neuropsych. So psychology has really grown here. We found even years ago, many of the people on this call fell into education. And so a lot of our alumni go on to be educators to help support the group. I know I went into working with special education because I wanted to work for students like me, right? So passing that torch forward. So I think that's probably the largest growing course that we have is our baccalaureate is the psychology right now. I don't have the data on that, but it's just knowing how many people are crossing the stage. I run graduation too. We have pretty large psychology cohorts. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Great.
Ms.
No
Tricia.
problem. Absolutely. Well, I don't want to be the one that keeps anybody between, lunch and the rest of their afternoon. I'm just so thankful that so many of you guys came in. Also, the opportunity to possibly say goodbye to Dr. Eden. So, and hear some of our updates. We want to hear from you. So if you want to shoot me an email with any of the ideas or any follow-up, continue to stay engaged. We do send the newsletter. LinkedIn is the opportunity where I post most of the jobs and related neurodiversity workshops. I keep Facebook a little bit more social, so I welcome you guys to join us on both of those platforms if you're engaged in either one of those. We have our alumni group on LinkedIn. Mac, go ahead. Mac has a question. Oop, you're still muted.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
As one of the more older alums, let's say.
Polished.
Yeah. Well, 80. I was at the first graduation, so I wasn't graduating, but I saw it. Speaking to that, as some of the late 80s, early 90s alums, a lot of times when I show up for a homecoming and things like that, especially on some of the key years, it seems like it's Kim Moreau and I and Ron Danton, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Now Vinny got an exception. He was getting married on the 35th, when it was the 35 years, so he was allowed to miss. But is there any efforts to really promote? I mean, I remember names of guys like from Oklahoma, the Rose brothers and stuff like that. Is there any efforts going on to try, and it would be so impressive if we have, like, I don't know what's coming up. I was 92.
The 40th, our 40th anniversary. So
but is there anything going? I know we did the Pioneer one,
and
that was great, but it just seemed like it seemed like there weren't a lot of the OGs, maybe is the best way to just the OGs, the 127 population that we were back then.
No, I agree. It's been I think lost communication, but we didn't track emails, and now everybody has cell phones, and we had mom and dad's number from back then. So this campaign for our 40th anniversary, we're doing a lost alumni campaign with that. So inviting you, I don't know if I'm volunteering you for this committee, but using peers that can reach out to the people that have said that they haven't heard from us, and a lot of that is because we just don't have good data on them, and just bringing them back in that peer-to-peer approach is what we really need for the committee work, because they won't recognize me. I've been here for a while, but not that long. But they'll appreciate the peer-to-peer approach, and so that's what this that's what my Lost Alumni campaign really focuses on, is having, I've talked to Chloe Richardson a few times now to kind of support that piece, and many people know Chloe as well. She's kind of the gatekeeper for that generation as well. So there definitely will be a campaign. I welcome your interest.
I hadn't even thought about the fact that we were pre-cell. I hadn't even thought of it. So I remember the payphones in the dorms.
Yeah. And that whole addressing. So a lot of the data we have for our older alumni is just really, really outdated. And it's changed for them. So it's easier now. People get a cell phone and they keep that number for the rest of their life,
Right.
So okay. So it's those little things. Technology has really pushed us.
I mean, if I can help in that with trying to get more of these older, or if you have pictures and you need identification, send them to me. Maybe I can help you with some of the faces, especially the early stuff. I would love to, and I'm taking up all the time, so I'm going to shut up.
No, you're good, but you're on my list. That means you're on my list. So welcome aboard. Yes. Thank you, everybody. David, you had another question? Sorry.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to put on my question is just, I have a passion, or not a passion, but I guess since I worked in radio as a radio DJ, I kind of wonder if there was a radio programming or some other master's degree or some kind of degree that can be focused into that. So then maybe I can come back, and I know it's going to be part-time for me, but I do feel like maybe just getting more from Landmark to kind of approach this part-time job more easily would be a good idea.
Yeah. Are you looking for more like one-on-one coaching? Because we can talk more one-on-one for that, for sure. But if you're thinking more of like a larger program that could support multiple alumni, I'd love to kind of talk to you, and like, as Dr. Ian said, like, what are the needs that we need to, hear from our alumni that you're having? And I'd love to have that conversation with you and kind of figure out something, because there may be a handful of you from your degree that are dealing with a similar situation. Is there something that I can narrow in on and provide programming for? I'd love to do that for you.
Okay. Well, when you get a chance, it doesn't have to be today, but maybe not during the summer, because I have a lot of things coming up, but maybe when I do get the chance to talk to you again, I would like to learn more about what I can figure out for radio programming, or just some kind of degree that I can get my radio type thing in there to just get me some more progress.
Yeah. More of a partnership relationship. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Great. Carter, go ahead.
So David, regarding your question, I don't know if like we're trying to, like, I was part, or technically am, or was part of the assistantship program there. So I'm unsure if because I know we're developing those programs. So I know that like Eric, Maddie, and there are a couple like people at Landmark who, like, he's part of the radio station here and whatnot and all that. So I don't know like if there's ways to develop an assistantship with his program in case you're trying to get more out of Landmark in a way, like not get a like you wouldn't get a degree per se, but you get more out of the program. like effect. So that's really what
it's a more professional position,
yeah.
With a little bit of guidance. It's not academic. So as Carter mentioned, nice plug, Carter. Thank you for the assistantships. We've grown our assistantship program. That's traditionally for our young alumni, a few years out, positions on campus that give them professional growth. So we had 6 last year. We're going to 7 this year. There was talk about there possibly being a radio one, but it didn't. They didn't wrap up for this year, but in the future, I think that's definitely one that they're thinking of. But great plug there, Carter. I like that. Yes, Lindsay, go ahead. I want to also welcome anybody. I want to thank everybody, but those that need to leave, please feel free to. It won't hurt my feelings. I understand that this is midday. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I have a question about the assistantship program. I'm looking at it right now. Like I get mixed reviews on that from talking to student or former students who have like done the program. Like, some people have found that doesn't increase their job, doesn't increase their, job opportunities post worth but some people they really, I'm getting a lot of mixed reviews about it from people who are either currently or maybe not currently, but in the last 2 years have been in it, or people who have been in it before. And can you just walk me through what it even what it is? I've seen it and I've talked to students, but I just want to make sure I'm on the same page of what it even is.
Sure. Yeah. So I kind of am one of the individuals that oversee our assistantship. Sorry, my phone's ringing. So the assistantship program is it's a part-time opportunity, non-credited opportunity for some of our graduates to apply for a professional position that provides a little bit more interest geared towards professional training. So these are areas of interest in terms of academics. So a lot of the positions fall within student affairs, so social pragmatics, TAC, student activities, and then there's some in marketing. There's, they're across the gamut. But the opportunity is 30 hours, and we provide the housing. So a lot of times it's a launching pad. Sometimes people are taking these positions and it's not necessarily what they got their degree in, but it's a great opportunity to build a resume. And then the extra 10 hours a week, I work and Career Connections work with the individuals to kind of focus more on what the next step is. So is that, so working with them, and that's really, sometimes.
So is it you working with all of them, or is it you working with your assistantship?
I work with all of them. I don't have an employer underneath. I work with all of them. I'm kind of like the in between their boss and HR. So I work with them. Do they have any issues, maybe asking for accommodation? Do they have anything that, are they lonely? I work with, or do they, because that transition from being a student to a professional, that's a big part of what I work with them around boundaries. How do you do that while you're living in that piece? Is sometimes the trickiest part, but also, how do you get engaged socially? So I connect them with the young professional group that's in the area. Sometimes I connected one with a men's golf league. How do you, that piece that comes with the transition after college of getting back into, finding your routine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And one more question. I've heard that people who are in that program have to pay the college to be in that program.
No, they don't pay. They have to pay rent, and it's a very minimum rent. So and they pay for their meals, whatever meals they want to eat at the dining hall. They're paying the employee rate regularly, but they get paid a rate. I don't know if it's minimum wage or not. I don't know off the top of my head, but they get paid to work their hours, and then they pay a rent.
Gotcha. Okay. So I just wanted to just double check what that is.
Yeah, the other part of the program is kind of that, personal, interpersonal, independent living piece of paying rent and all that, living with roommates, shared living, all that stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I have a pamphlet on it. I can provide it that narrows some of those pieces down as well, Lizzie.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a young program. It's not like a graduate program, a graduate, like for credit, where you're TAing or doing research. It hasn't grown to that. It's a part-time position. Great. Did I miss anybody's questions? Look at 18 of you stuck around. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you guys will be hearing from me. Like I said, the best way to kind of stay in touch is just I'm an open door policy too, so shoot me an email any way you want to communicate with me. I'm pretty bad that if you find me on Facebook, I'm gonna message you. If you message me, I'm answering that anytime. But like I say, if you're looking for more of the professional opportunities, we post jobs and neurodiversity workshops for career readiness. A lot of that will fall within our LinkedIn, and our social obligations will fall within Facebook. So joining those social groups, and then just making sure we have your updated contact information so you get our newsletters, our magazines, and all the things for our 40th, right, Mac? Mac's gonna join. And I welcome any interest in volunteering. So let me know your interest and I'll make it happen. Rhett, you look like you want to say something?
No, I just saw that. So I think it was Sophia raised her hand.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Helping me manage it. Go ahead, Sophia.
The 40-year reunion that you mentioned a little earlier, when will that be for next year?
Yeah, so we don't officially have a date. We're leaning towards it falling during our family weekend in traditional homecoming timeline, but that's not official yet. So that would be 2025. We're looking at the fall timeline.
Oh, well, okay.
So we will advertise that a lot sooner than our homecoming. So that we'll try to get that out in a good amount of time. So, but probably early around Christmas time of 2025, we'll get that out. So people have a good, at least 5 to 6 month window to plan for that.
Okay, Tricia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, enjoy your summers. I'll see some of you in the fall and some of you coming back for other engagements. And thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Tricia.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take care, all.